What you are about to hear is a story that has been locked behind palace doors for months. And tonight those doors have finally opened. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive and most shocking royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because tonight we are telling a story that will change everything you thought you knew about Archie, Lilibet, and the future of the Sussex name. And if you have been with us from the beginning, you already know. We never hold back. We never pull back. Let us get into it. For many years, Buckingham Palace acted like it could not hear a thing. Like the interviews did not exist. Like the documentaries did not exist. Like the memoir did not exist. The world watched and waited and wondered if the palace would ever respond. And the palace said nothing. Absolutely nothing. But that silence, that long, patient, deliberate silence, was not weakness. It was never weakness. It was strategy. And this week that strategy reached its final destination. Because according to sources who know exactly what happened inside those walls, official documents have finally been written. Not rough drafts. Not warnings. Not we will decide later. Final orders. Orders that will forever change the future of two children who never asked to be part of this battle. Archie and Lilibet. And the message inside those papers is incredibly clear. Their right to be called royal is gone. Not postponed. Not being reconsidered. Gone. And the moment those words were put on paper, the palace's long silence finally made complete sense. They were not ignoring anything. They were waiting. Calm. Patient. Completely confident that the rule book would speak louder than anything Harry and Meghan ever said in public. To understand why the royal family made such a final and irreversible choice, you have to look at a very old book. One written long before Meghan, Harry, or their children were ever born. A rule book that has controlled the royal family line for more than 100 years. The year was 1917. The world was at war. Kingdoms were falling apart. And the British royal family was desperately trying to protect itself from confusion and political danger. So King George V did something no king had done before. He wrote down in official legal language exactly who could be called a prince or princess. Not as a story, not as tradition, as law. His announcement was called the letters patent. And it became the foundation of royal identity for every generation that followed. Inside this document were 3 strict rules that every royal child must meet. Rule 1. The child must come from a real royal family line. The royal family wanted to make sure that no one without a clear royal background could enter the line of succession. Rule 2. The child's birth must be officially recognized and recorded by the crown. Not through a press release. Not through a private announcement. By the royal household itself. Rule 3. The child must be connected to the Church of England through an official baptism. This was not optional. It was treated as a legal step in establishing royal identity. These rules were strict, exact, and unchanging. They were created to protect the royal family from exactly what it feared most: confusion. For many years, every single royal birth followed these rules perfectly. No shortcuts, no special cases, no problems. Until Archie was born, and the very first crack appeared in the royal paperwork. Archie's birth in 2019 should have been straightforward. A happy announcement. Smiling parents. A new baby welcomed into history. And at first that is exactly what it looked like. But inside the legal paperwork, inside the one document meant to protect a royal child's identity forever, something strange happened. Archie's birth certificate initially listed his mother the way most legal documents would. Rachel Meghan Markle. Everything normal. Everything correct. But later the document was quietly changed. Suddenly, and without a clear explanation, Meghan's full legal name was removed and replaced with a single phrase. Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Birth certificates are normally locked. They do not get changed like school assignments or updated like social media posts. They are meant to be permanent. So when this change appeared, it set off warning signals behind palace walls. Meghan claimed the palace forced the change. Palace staff claimed Meghan requested it. Both sides said the other was wrong, and no one ever provided a final agreed-upon answer. But here is what truly mattered to the royal family. A royal birth record had been changed, and once a royal record has doubt attached to it, that doubt becomes a crack. One that spreads, one that grows, and one that eventually leads to everything falling apart. By the time Lilibet was born in 2021, the palace had already learned something powerful. Silence can be louder than any words. Because when her birth came, the world expected a familiar picture. Royal doctors standing by. Official announcements from Buckingham Palace. Photographers ready to capture the newest member of the royal family. But none of that happened. Instead, the birth of Harry and Meghan's daughter was announced from thousands of miles away, wrapped in a cheerful press release from sunny California. A modern announcement. A friendly message. A picture-perfect statement. But something was missing. Actually, someone was missing. The crown. There was no royal seal. No palace confirmation. No official record. No sign of any official royal witness. And to those who study royal rules closely, this was not a small thing. This was a signal. A quiet message sent without a single spoken word. We are not claiming this. For hundreds of years, royal births had been treated almost like historical ceremonies. Every detail mattered. Where the child was born, who delivered them, which doctors signed off, how the crown recorded it. These steps were not just tradition. They were the royal family's way of saying this child belongs to our history. But with Lilibet, none of those steps were followed. To the public, it looked like a simple difference. One baby born in the UK, one baby born in America. But to the palace, it was far bigger. A royal child had been introduced to the world without the crown's involvement, making her the first Windsor relative in modern times to enter the world outside the royal record. And inside Buckingham Palace, this was not seen as an accident. It was seen as a departure, a break from the path every royal baby had walked for over 100 years. The quiet rejection had begun. If the birth made people inside the palace concerned, what happened next caused something deeper than concern. Months later, Meghan shared that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly about the ceremony, the joy, the photos, the meaning. But behind palace walls, the reaction was very different. Because for royal children, a baptism is not just a family event. It is one of the main requirements set out by the 1917 Letters Patent. It is the moment a child is officially tied to the Church of England, the crown, and the hundreds of years of tradition behind them. It is a legal marker just as important as a birth certificate. But according to sources familiar with church records, Lilibet's California baptism was never registered with the Church of England. To the couple, it was a beautiful and meaningful celebration. To the royal family, it was a ceremony that on paper did not exist. And in the royal world, this is not a minor issue. This is significant. A child without a recognized Church of England baptism is considered to exist outside the official record. Instead of strengthening Lilibet's connection to the royal family, the event did the exact opposite. It left her floating between two worlds, celebrated by her family in America, but unrecognized by the very system she was born into. Two cracks now existed. One in Archie's birth documentation, one in Lilibet's christening. And as those cracks spread, the consequences became impossible to avoid. As the cracks in the royal foundation grew wider around his children, Harry did something no one expected from a prince who had declared he was done with the royal family. He reached back. According to those familiar with the private conversations, Harry made late-night phone calls to the very system he had walked away from. These were not planned calls, not polished media-ready speeches. They were emotional, personal, desperate. He begged the palace to reconsider. He begged for Archie and Lilibet to be written into the royal record. He begged for the titles he believed his children deserved by blood. To Harry, this was not about fame or marketing. This was about legacy, the one thing he believed he could protect even after stepping down. He thought he could leave royal duties behind and still raise royal heirs. But every time he tried to explain, he hit the same immovable wall. A palace official reportedly responded to him with a sentence so cold, so direct, that it stayed with him for months. This is not about emotion. This is about order, family line, and the future of the crown. And for Harry, that was the moment everything changed. Because he realized something heartbreaking. He was not just the prince who had stepped away from royal life. He had become the prince whose children were being erased from it. Once the palace made its decision, it moved with remarkable speed. No cameras, no press conferences, no dramatic royal statements. Just quiet, steady action. The kind the crown is famous for. The consequences were not gentle, not temporary, and not open to discussion. No royal titles, no prince, no princess, no ceremonial roles, no official duties, no public honors, no place in the line of succession, no crown-funded security, no permanent place in royal files. The books that outlast centuries would no longer include them. In the world of royalty, titles are not just words. They are keys. They open doors to history. They tie a child to a family line. They guarantee a place in a story bigger than any single individual. Without those keys, a royal child becomes ordinary. And that is exactly what the palace's final orders accomplished. They stripped away everything that connected Archie and Lilibet to the centuries-old Windsor legacy. Not as punishment, not as revenge, but as the strict application of rules that bend for nobody. In the end, Buckingham Palace never shouted, never argued, never tried to outtalk the storm of interviews and podcasts and documentaries. It did not need to, because the royal family has always understood its greatest power: silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. Silence is the crown's way of saying everything without saying a single word. For years, the palace watched from a distance. Quiet, still, patient. It watched Meghan build her brand as a royal mother. It watched Harry struggle to connect two completely different worlds. It watched the documentaries and the public speeches and the criticisms of the palace, all without responding. Because the royal family knew something the rest of the world had forgotten. Power is not proven with noise. Power is proven with finality. And when the time came, the crown acted with the cold precision of a system older than empires. It removed titles. It rewrote records. It erased names from history's path, with a message that will echo far louder than anything Harry and Meghan have ever said in public. The crown does not bend. Not for personalities, not for celebrity, not for noise or attention. And once the crown chooses to erase your place in its story, you are not a rebel. You are not a threat. You are not even a chapter. You are simply gone. Archie and Lilibet will grow up loved, protected, and free. But the pages of royal history, the pages that last far longer than any interview or documentary, will not carry their names. The absence is the answer. The silence is the punishment. And the decision once made is forever. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you tonight, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications, because we are here every single week with the stories nobody else will tell the full truth about. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends.